Hey, Skunk, can you hear me?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Hey, yep, I can hear you. Let me make sure that I got us on the screen. Hold on one second. Okay. What's going on, bro? How are you?
Yeah. I'm not too bad. A bit frazzled, but I'm all right. All good
You're a
though.
bit frazzled today?
Yeah, I'm all right though.
Okay.
So we had a
Okay.
friend's housewarming last night, so it was a bit crazy.
Oh, one of those Australian parties. What happened over there?
It was more of like a roof warming. If he is like
Okay.
he's been building his house and he's just got the roof put on, so it was more of a roof party, but it was still pretty cool. So yeah, yeah.
Okay. Cool. Cool.
Something
I'd love to
different.
go to
Something
a
different.
roof party out there.
Yeah, yeah. We just made it up. We just started doing it.
That's
So,
funny. That's funny.
mm,
So,
mm,
the what prompted this conversation with us tonight, and shout out to everybody that's in the clouds, everybody that's in the chat. But I wanted to particularly have a conversation with you today because of a video that I did about 4 years ago, which was that
mm,
video that I just showed, along with a series of other videos that I did highlighting Aboriginal people of all lands, right? And one of the people that I did a particular video on that I couldn't find just now was a video of the Australian people. But I definitely
mm,
mentioned the Australian people in that particular video I just played. But to find out that you are part of one of the original tribes of the Australian people, I thought that
mhm.
was a major thing to sit down and have a conversation with you. And I felt like it would be a extremely missed opportunity, right? If I have somebody who I care for so much that comes and hangs out with me, and to find out about your background and to not sit down and have an open discussion with you about that background, right? Um, and then to find out also that you are also have a half Scottish side as well. Um, really, really, really drives this home. And so I
Yeah.
would like to, get into that. Let's start with the Scottish part, if you can, because that kind of speaks of what we talked about the Scottish rights, right?
Yeah. Well, at some point, um, we're not sure, but would have been in the 1800s. One of my ancestors in Scotland stole a loaf of bread, or maybe looked at the wrong way at someone English, and so they chucked him in prison and sent him to Australia. Yeah.
Wow. And where was he? He was in Scotland, or was he in
Yeah, Glasgow. So
Glasgow? Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
and so they got him, and they sent him out, and he was originally in Western Australia, but his last name was spelt the way the Scottish used to spell the last name. By the time it got over to this side of the country, they had to change it to the English sounding one to get away. You know what I mean? Because you just get hounded. You know what I mean? You'd
Mhm.
have to change your name. You'd have to say you were for someone else, or yeah, which you could do back in those days a lot more. But and a lot of the convicts took Aboriginal wives, and because they ran away. Yeah,
Mhm.
so it made
And
sense.
and
Mm.
and just to make it clear, when the Scottish came over to we had something here in the United States where the Scottish came over as Freemasons, right, in the
Mm.
1800s, and
Yeah,
they
yeah,
established
some of
what's
that here.
called the Mother Supreme Council in Charleston, South Carolina. Okay, and
Mm.
the reason for the rights itself, and RITES, right, um, is to establish the ability for them to have the right to be in a particular land or to be in a particular space without being put in chains. Okay, and
Mm.
that was basically what the purpose of the Scottish rights was. Um, and it all falls into this particular conversation that took place with your own family, right, where
Mm.
they were put in chains basically as prisoners of war, and they were brought
Mm.
and thrown into different lands, and one of the lands was Australia. And
Mhm.
the rights that came into play later actually worked in their favor, as opposed to what we see with that happens to black people that are displaced throughout the world, if that makes sense.
Mm.
Does
It
that?
does. It does. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Makes total sense, because a lot of the ex-cons that were just given a lot of things, you know,
Hmm.
after they were over here, they were given huge parcels of land, and you know what I
Right.
mean. It's and they weren't treated any differently, but unfortunately, the indigenous population was, you know, because we have no concept of what property is, if you know what I mean, which is
Right.
hard to it's hard to sort of it was hard to sort of for a Western sort of person to frame it, like they come here and with goods to, like, oh, we want to buy this or do that, but we come from the land, we're stewards of the land. um it's a hard thing. We don't quantify it like that.
Hmm.
You can't quantify, like, no one owns the land. You got what
Right.
I'm saying?
Hmm.
We don't know what, like, yeah, that's the way what we're coming from. You know, we're here to
Right.
look after the country. Yeah, and that's what it's all about. And yeah, living for 60 plus thousand years with the same culture, you
Hmm.
know, you tend to learn a few things, you know, to live with nature. And you know, you don't need a lot of words for everything. That's why it's very hard to sometimes translate English from Aboriginal, just because of there's so many different dialects, if you know what I mean, from different areas. It's very difficult. Yeah,
Hmm.
but you know, it's it's a hard thing to do, because we don't. Yeah, we never we never recognised the British rule. You know what I mean? So it's hard to, we don't really see their laws and rights as, which is why they set up missions and reserves for some people, and that's half the problem. And you might have seen, I didn't know if you've seen the news recently. It's the little girl in the community up there.
Hmm.
Did you
No,
on
I
the
didn't
news?
hear about that. No.
It's little 5-year-old girl was taken and killed and raped by a community member,
Oh my God.
but it we were telling they were telling the authorities. I'm not going to get into it because it's going to get a bit murky, but
Mhm.
this stuff happens all the time out there because they're just people are under pressure with all these laws, and yeah, it's not good. You know, they still
Mhm.
have all these laws, especially in the Northern Territory, because it's not a real state. It's very hard to quantify it. So it's still it's a very touchy subject. And because I've never really been involved with the communities out there, I've only been involved with the communities around southeast Queensland, northern New South Wales. It's very hard for me to. I don't have really many contacts out there. You know what I mean? It's
In the
very hard.
In the North Territory.
Yes, yes, it's
Mm.
very because once again, I think it's the Anunga tribes out there. I think I'm not too sure about it because I know more about where I'm from. See, in
Mhm.
Western Australia originally,
Mhm.
which is like I said, the Injbani and out of the Noongar. But it's hard. There's a huge like in any indigenous community. There's a huge proportion of disproportion of wealth and education as well and services.
Mhm.
It's like how are we going to get better if we don't get like the same as everyone else? You know what I mean? They're still
Right.
not giving us the services we need. You know, it's very lacking. It's quite sad.
Yeah, and let's talk about that a little bit because that in particular is what I wanted to point out, right? And I know that you don't have a lot of connection to the tribes of the North, right? But these are, I believe, in what I've read and the information that I've I've looked into. What I understand is these are people from various tribes, but they are Aboriginal people, and they've been displaced based upon various different oppressive things that the government has put upon them, right? Not particularly that they're specifically oppressing them, but it's almost as if it's the same with the original people of the Americas, right? The people
Hmm.
of this land, they are oppressed in ways where they say stuff like, "Hey, we've given you a certain amount of land to live on, but if you go over to these lands, the land is desolate, the land is bad, right? The people are living in terrible conditions, right? Most people are so poor that they tend to turn to the lives of drinking and different things like this to cope with the ridiculous you know uh, uh, conditions that they have to live in. Okay. And then they have these particular treaties with, the United States, for instance. They have this treaty with the United States where the United States is supposed to grant them grants every single like year and month and stuff like that. That's supposed to go towards their health care and all these other things. And it really, it doesn't pan out that way, right? Where you've got the elites
Yeah.
living perfectly, right? They're living just fine. They've got mansions. They're living in on great land and whatnot. And then you've got the indigenous tribes that they've put them in certain pockets, right? In within the country, and they call them they call it
Reservations or
reservations and
missions.
whatnot.
Yep.
Yeah, and stuff like
Hmm.
this.
Yep.
But when you go in there, the conditions are awful, right? I have native
Mm.
family, and none of my native family has lives on reservations or anything like that because usually the black natives, they don't allow that, right? They
Mm.
try to do everything they can to even suppress the idea of blacks being natives to begin with. Even down to, it was crazy because a few years ago they had even tried to do this DNA testing on different black celebrities who have claimed to have native blood, right? And so
Mm.
they tried to do this this DNA test to tell them, well, you're from Nigeria, or well, you're from here. That doesn't mean you're not indigenous to this land, though, right? And that's the
Yeah.
part they don't understand. It's like just because I have Nigerian blood or because my
Mm.
family migrated from Africa doesn't mean
mm,
that they weren't here before these white settlers came here. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? And I think that's
yeah,
the
I
part
do
that
completely.
they want to erase, you know.
Mm,
But and I feel like this is what has happened to the indigenous people of Australia as well, right? Where they have, they've been forced into certain parts of the country, they've been forced into certain lands, and they're not given the same rights that even other groups of people who were brought there, right, as prisoners of war or
mm.
whatever. They're not given the same rights as them, where they were
But
indigenous to the land. They've been there for 70,000 years, right? Like
yeah,
let's talk about
yeah,
it, right?
and
Yeah.
exactly. And this is what really annoyed me. Like when was running my business,
Mhm.
I ran it for many years, and just I crushed it. COVID crushed me, but anyway, that's neither here nor there. But I used to do a lot of work for the migrant development of Australia, and also, excuse me, the
Mhm.
indigenous welfare. They like look after the housing and stuff in and around Brisbane here,
Mhm.
and the stuff that was given to them. Then this is not dissing. We all need migrants for work and all that sort of stuff. But the disparity is real. They were given 40K coming to the country, right? They
Oh
were
yeah, I
given
believe it.
that they were given new TVs, new cars. Like you know, um, they didn't have to pay rent. They only had to pay power. I mean, and then I used to go work in the indigenous housing sections, right? And they get nothing by comparison. Nothing.
Nothing at all.
And
Like I saw one of them though.
it just used to make me just so bloody angry. I,
Yeah.
I, I, I just, I, and it used, and like, yeah, and but I used to see it all the time, and just, and at least the indigenous, at least we were trying to make things the best of what we could. These people are
Mhm.
just coming in and trashing everything, and just like, wow,
And it's
and getting paid to
everywhere.
do
Yeah,
it. It's everywhere. It's
it's
not just here.
everywhere.
It's over. It's in your
Yeah,
country. It's in seven. It's bad in the U. I know it's really bad in the UK,
in
but
the UK. Yeah.
you know, yeah, but you know, we were all just sitting down the other day, all going, can we just go back to it was just, us?
Right. Before the settlers came, right? Before the colonizers
Yeah,
came, right? They
yeah,
always think they
yeah.
need to colonize everybody and control land that God has given all of us, right?
Mm,
You controlling the land, controlling the water, like like it's just
yeah,
crazy out here.
yeah.
Um,
Just chill.
and
Yeah, just
yeah,
chill.
there's only one tribe that I know of that's out in oh, where are they? They're off of the coast. They're off of South America, and
Mm,
you can't get anywhere near that island, right? They will kill you
mm.
off that island
Oh
because the
yeah.
people of that land have been there for like eons. They've been there for like 70, 60,000 some years, right? They're not about to let any outsiders come in with your diseases, with your problems, with your religions, with all these things, right? And bring that into their society and kill off their people. This has been what has happened to our people
Mm.
for for
And
for
again
eons
and
now,
again and
and
again and
again and
again.
again
Yeah.
and again. Exactly. So finally, we've got a group of people who will not even let you come near their island, right? And they're
Mm.
protected by the government. The government doesn't even let people go over there. The last person that tried it was in like 2018 or like 2019. It was this Christian missionary, right? This quote unquote Christian missionary, and he
Oh yeah.
wanted to go over there and try to change them all to Christians, and they shot his ass up right on the beach
Yep.
with spears. Okay,
Yeah.
they don't have
Mm.
guns. Okay, they shot his ass up with spears and took his body somewhere. We don't know what they did with it. Okay, but I think that's funny
Yeah.
because I'm like, how dare you even think that you have the right to come into these people's land and come into these people's space, right? A land
Yeah.
that God has provided to them, that God has given to them, and that they have cultivated over the years. They understand the spirit over that place. They understand the connection between that place and the stars. They understand everything going on there, and they're not about to let you
Mm.
colonizers come in and colonize. They understand what y'all doing. They know what y'all have
mm.
done to people all over the world. They don't need technology for that, right?
Mm. And
But
that's right. And
yeah.
speaking
No, go
on
ahead.
that, and speaking on that, like the like the dream time says, it's about the past, present, and the future.
Hmm.
It's about that stream of consciousness. You know,
Right.
it's more than just the material. It's more than the land and everything. It's more than
It's
that.
spirit. Yeah, it's a
That's right.
spiritual connection that
Mm.
that our people have had to the land because God has given us this land. He did this, centuries ago, right?
Mm.
And so some of us are just catching up to this now. What I mean? We're just
Yeah,
realizing that. Some of us,
and
in
it's
particular in America, we've been so ignorant to what Aboriginal means. That
mm,
we have no idea that other
yeah.
tribes exist. You know.
It's a different. It's just definitely a different dynamic. That's for sure because families here tend to trying to hide that sort of part of their history more. It's
Mm,
different now,
hmm.
but when my parents were around, and like they don't want to even talk about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They don't
Is
want to
it?
even talk about it. I don't even know anything about like that side of I remember my dad a few times. You know what I mean? But I remember he was a violent motherfucker. But um, that's neither here nor there. That's an indictment on him. He was a bad alcoholic. But
Okay.
um, he I never met the rest of my family until later in my life, like my auntie recently, and learning more about my family, and then she's gone now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's
Rest in peace to her too. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and that's she's here with us, sitting on the shelf, so it's all good.
Yeah.
But
It's all good. Yeah.
it's all good. But it's hard for me because now I've got to because, but it was good in a way because I got to see now that unfortunately because she when she passed, she didn't even know where she was from. Do you get what
Mm.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
She wasn't even told where she was from, and
Yeah.
she only found out when she died. When we found out where she was really where she was from, where she was born, because
Mm.
our family's so big. See, and
Right.
there's a huge mistrust of the government here, and rightly so. And
Yeah.
no one wants to get DNA tested. We only usually find out where we're from when we die. You know,
How
which
about
is
that?
sad, but
So
you
once
know,
you guys found out, did you find out she is part of the one of the Aboriginal tribes, one of the indigenous
oh,
tribes?
it's no, no, no. We already knew that. We already
You
knew
knew
that.
that, right? You just
It
didn't
was
know which
more.
one. Okay.
No, no, it was more her other side of the family, which was from Vanuatu, Tanner Island. She's from an indigenous, half indigenous from over there,
Okay.
and she always thought she was from Fiji. Like her old man was from Fiji,
Mhm.
but he wasn't. He was from the Vanuatu, Tanner Island. He was blackbirded. That's what they used to call it. They used to get people from the islands, like the British used to pull people from the islands and then bring them back to Australia to work in the cane fields and the railroads. Pay them
Wow.
basically really, really shitty low. It's basically just slavery. You know what I mean?
Right.
But pay them a wage just enough to eat, barely, and
Well, at least they
yeah,
paid
that's
them.
where.
Right.
Yeah,
that's what
yeah.
that's what that's what our families would say. The ones that were put into chattel slavery,
Oh yeah,
right? We
oh
would
yeah,
say,
yeah,
well,
for
hey, they
sure.
got paid. 'Cause
Yeah,
we ain't get paid yet.
yeah.
We still ain't got paid.
Yeah, and I
Crazy.
totally agree, You guys have
Yeah.
got your own gripe, and that's why I never really stick my nose in when it comes to when you guys are talking about that because, you know,
Mm,
that's I'm on your side, but,
yeah.
yeah, it's something
But
you
it's the
guys have
same
gotta.
thing, though. It is. It's the
It
same
is.
thing.
It is. It
It's
is.
and now we have it where, and I know there's a
It's not
argument
just
in America about this, but
mm,
you know, now we have where black people are disproportionately imprisoned, right,
mm,
for crimes that
I
they
see
didn't
too,
commit
yeah.
and so forth and so on. I mean, we've had men that have sat in prison for rapes and murders and stuff that they didn't even commit, right? And then they find out later
Mm-hmm.
on with DNA, after they spent 20 years in this chattel position, right? After they
Mm.
spent 30 years in this situation, they find out later on that this person is innocent, and then they want to let them go, right? But they've spent 30,
Mm.
40 years in there, right? They've been institutionalized at this point. They've been, all kinds of stuff has happened to them, and they think throwing them $1 million is enough, and it isn't.
No, it's
You
not.
know,
No, not even
no.
close. I mean, especially your MIC over there is huge,
Mhm.
and your oh, sorry, your PIC, your prison industrial
Mhm.
complex.
Prison. Mhm.
Um, I mean, ours is getting that way. You know what I mean? But it's getting more privatized and stuff. But it's
Oh, really?
crazy over there. It's crazy
Yeah.
over there what they do to you guys. It is. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
because the
Just
prisons
crazy.
are privately owned here, and so
Yeah.
that's why and the states run them. That's the imagine having a business, right? That
Mm.
you get all you collect all the money, you collect everything from it, but you got the state running it for you. Like,
Mm.
no, shit. I need to own a prison at this point. My God. But
Yeah.
anyway, no, I'm just saying, it's
Yeah. Yeah.
crazy how, they use these oppressive systems of, and call them government systems, and these very same systems are oppressing all of our people all across the world. I was
But
watching
it's
something
just
about.
yeah.
I was
Sorry, I
watching
was just going to
something.
interrupt you.
No, go
I
ahead.
was
Go
just
ahead.
going to
I'm
sorry.
sorry.
I was just going to interrupt you, but
No, no, go
it's
ahead.
the same. It's the same, isn't it? It's just like I mean, even after
Hmm.
World War II, they were dropping nukes on us. The British were dropping nukes on us in the desert. Did
Wow.
you know that?
I heard some things about that, but I don't know much, right?
Uh,
Um, so yeah,
all I'm
that's
saying is
interesting
like
to know.
the latest thing. The latest thing. They're always going to find like the weakest, like the most impoverished, the downtrodden to like oppress first, aren't they? Of course they are.
Right.
You know.
Of course.
You know. Yeah.
Well, let's talk a
We're
little
already a
bit
bit.
more about that. You said the British had dropped some nukes on the indigenous people in the desert back in World War II,
After World War II, yeah.
after World War II. Wow.
So it was they were testing it because like the Americans weren't going to give them their secrets. So the British were like, oh, they. I think at first they blew up Bikini Atoll. I think that
Mm,
was them. Or was that you guys? One of them. And then they thought, oh no, we'll blow up Maralinga, which was like in the middle of South Australian desert. Apparently there were like a whole bunch of people, and then they sent one guy that said clear it all out. And he goes, that's not possible. And they said just do the best you can. It's just like it's
mm,
it's pretty bad, you know. It's
yeah.
pretty it's pretty bad. It's like
Yeah.
that's the British Empire for you, though, isn't it?
Yeah, how about that? And the Americans too, right? And it's funny
Oh
how
yeah.
we're watching them all like those chickens coming home to roost now with what's
Mhm.
happening with the war, I don't
Mhm.
feel as an American, I don't I'm an American, but I don't feel sorry for them. I don't feel
Mm.
sorry for what's happening to the United States because of what the United States has done and them
Mhm.
and the other colonizers, what they have done
Mhm.
to our people. And just to see that the Strait of Hormuz itself being closed down is
Mm.
literally a biblical prophecy, okay? Where
Mm.
the Bible talked about how the storehouses would begin to shift, the oceans, the world would begin to shift, and the riches would come back to the land, right? And that's exactly
Mm.
what's happening with the Strait of Hormuz closing like this and only allowing certain ships to come through, and um the Russians and others who get in start to make business with
Mm.
other countries, right? As opposed to
Mhm.
the United States and as opposed to Britain. This
Mhm.
is biblical prophecy being fulfilled. And it's all um what God has spoken of about his people and that he would gather us all from the different corners of the earth. And so,
Mm.
I see this happening. I see the riches coming back to our people. I see the the empires that colonized us are falling, right? And they're
Mm.
doing it right before our very eyes, and it's a beautiful thing to see. It's sad, it's scary, but it's a beautiful thing to
Mm.
see
Oh,
because it is a long time coming. No, go
that's
ahead.
what I wanted to. That's what I wanted to pick your brain about actually, because I was going, oh, you guys must be scary. You guys over there having a front row seat for that,
I'm not
because
afraid at
obviously,
all.
oh yeah, but I no,
Shit.
but I'm not either. I reckon bring it
Yeah.
on, but
Not at all.
um,
They should be afraid, not me.
it's like I've been saying for years. It's just like, have you ever realised that, like, not we as the people, but like our governments, that we're the bad guys. We're the
Mm,
bad guys. You know, they have
mm,
all the movies where we're the good guys coming in to save everything
right.
and do all that sort of stuff. But when you actually
I've
look
always
into it,
said that. I've always told my
we're not.
children this. I've always
Yeah.
said this. We've had these
Hmm.
discussions for many years. My
Mm,
daughter's almost 30 years old, and I've been telling
hmm.
them for years that it is the United States that is the terrorist, right?
Mm,
It's not all these things that we hear and all these things that we're being told. I can get into some other discussions too, like about Hitler and
hmm.
all kinds of stuff. We're not going to talk
Yeah,
about that
that's
here on
never here nor
YouTube.
here. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but
Mm,
I'm just saying, I have had these conversations in my family for many, many eons at this point.
mm.
And so, yeah, I'm not shocked at all, right, of what's happening. I
No,
actually welcome what's happening. I'm excited to
I
see
just
what's
want,
going
yeah.
on, you know? Yeah.
I just want you all to. I just want you guys to be safe. You know, like anything. I don't hate the US people or anyone there. Like, I don't hate
Of course.
anyone in the world. I just, the governments are fucking crazy. They're just
And I think
crazy.
that's what I want to say this too. The Iranian people know that. Um,
Mm,
they know that there is a lot of Muslim people in this country. That's one.
mm,
Blacks and all different other races and shades, right? They know that there's Christian people in this country. They know of all the different. They also know about the Aboriginal Black people of this country because they've spoken of it. Okay.
mm,
Um, and so they have no interest in bombing the United States. That is they have no interest in doing that. I've been saying that
mm,
for a while. I have no fear of them doing that. They have no vested interest in doing that at all. As a matter of fact, that would make things worse for them. So they have
mm.
no intention of doing that. What they do have
No.
intention of doing is bankrupting these these
Mm,
colonizers who have colonized our people for hundreds and hundreds of years, right? Thousands and
mhm,
thousands of years, and they have ways of doing that by disrupting the economy, right?
mm,
And I think, if anything, this is what people need to prepare for. Not so much getting bombed and getting, bomb shelters and all that stuff. I don't think those are things we need to be concerned about. I think we need to be concerned that the economy is going to take a huge turn. It already
yep,
has, and it's going to continue. It's going to get worse. 27 is not going to be any better, and this is why
mm,
people need to be on top of their finances. They need to be on top of where they're living. Right? Perhaps you might need to make some changes in where you're living at. You know what I mean, or something
mm,
like that. You may need to make changes as far as the family, like, connecting with family members and putting people together, or whatever you got to do. But make sure that you are preparing yourself for a down spiral in the economy and how that is going to continue and continue. And I'll tell you what, I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't take 70 years or more for the United States to recover from this. I'll be
mm.
honest, and these are facts.
Yeah, yeah, that looks like we're all heading to a bad
A
recession, or
recession,
at least,
yes,
or maybe even a depression, which is even
right.
worse.
But see,
Uh,
one of the beauties of that, and I wanted to say this before because we're going to wind down. Um,
mm,
the beauty of the recessions and the depressions and stuff with Black folks, right, is that we always find a way because we have been
mhm.
oppressed by these people for so long that we have found a way to live through oppression. Right? It's sad, but it's true. We laugh about it
Yeah,
and everything. You know that cereal with the No Merc song and all that stuff. These are
yeah,
all like jokes about things that we have actually experienced, right? We have been there where we've had to use the powdered milk, and we've had to use, the noodle packet, the seasoning packet for something else, right?
yeah. You got
Or
to
we
spin
take
up
the
all those
noodles and
little.
use it with sauce or some shit, right?
Yeah, you got to spin up all those little side hustles that have been laying
Yeah,
dormant. Yeah, yeah,
yeah. So
yeah,
we
yeah.
know how to survive. Black people know
Mm,
how to survive. So it's like Okay, we're going to go through a depression. Big deal.
Mm.
We have been through this
Yeah.
many times where we needed to eat only grits, okay, or some
Mm.
shit like that,
Yeah.
right? But we find a way and we make a way, and through that we just stick with God, or we stick with the Most High, right? And we will find our way through this.
That's what
Um,
makes us strong. That's what makes us strong.
yeah,
You know.
exactly. It does. It makes it keeps us strong, and it keeps us. It keeps our DNA set aside from any other people of the land. It literally does. And so,
Mm.
they can't understand why black people's DNA is like it is. They've tried to do. I know this about the Australian people, that they've tried to do some indigenous or some DNA research on where they're from, and I know they're
Mm.
from Africa, right?
Yes.
As everybody has migrated from Africa, we know this already.
They
Um,
came. They came down when the during before the sea levels rose. They walked across
they walked across
the
exactly.
Papua New Guinea. There. That's why the DNA diverges. I think it's at 30 similar, but then there's
Mhm.
completely separates at 37,000 years ago. I think.
Mhm.
But
Even
varies
the
varies.
Fiji people and all of they're
Yep.
all
Yep.
from the same.
Yep. Yep.
And I have
Yep.
I did some research on them too. The people of Fiji,
Hmm.
anywhere in that area, even Hawaii, right? Even over
Yeah.
here in the US, in Hawaii, these people they're all African people. All
Well,
African.
Hawaii, that's why the Kiwis are very similar to the
Mhm.
Hawaiians.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. I
So.
love me some Kiwis too. Um
Yeah.
Okay, any final words? I didn't want to keep you too long. I just wanted to discuss this a
No,
little
you're
bit
right.
and have just bring highlight to it, because a lot of people just don't know, that
It's a real, yeah. It's a global issue, um,
it is. It
and
is.
we all have, and yeah, it's unfortunately, I don't know if there's, I don't know if it's gonna get. It was getting better, if you know. It seemed to be, but then it's always got that. You know what I'm talking about? That it's in the background. You know, it's
Hmm.
that I can't quite explain it. It's like you're trying to help, but you're really trying to fuck us over at the same time, sort of thing.
Right.
You know, that's the feeling I get. So I think, yeah, it's very hard. I don't think any of these current politicians, wherever we're from, are going to do anything for us. You know,
I
we've got
absolutely
we've
agree.
it's
It's going to take a
grassroots.
divine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's all grassroots. Yeah. So. Mm.
Yeah, it's going to take a divine intervention because
Mm-hmm.
clearly they don't want to do anything about it. You know what I mean? Like, for
No.
example, with the Northern Territory tribes, right? I
Mm-hmm.
know that they have what would be the equivalent to an EBT card here. Okay, so EBT cards here
Mm-hmm.
are food stamps, right? Where they give you
Mm-hmm.
a certain amount or an allotted amount of what they would call money put on a card that you can use to
Mm-hmm.
purchase food. Okay, they've got
Food
all kinds
only.
of rules on
Food
that stuff
only.
here. Like you can't buy certain types of food here. I think you can't buy like hot food. Like we can go in a store and buy like a whole chicken that's already cooked and prepared. You can't do
Yeah,
that
they
with
can do
food
that. Yeah,
stamps here, right? You got to take
they
and
can do
buy
that.
like
Yeah.
raw stuff and cook it yourself, which I think is stupid. Food is food, right? Who cares
Mm.
what it is, right? But these are the kinds of, so they put rules on these things. You know what I mean? Like as if, someone who's has less money shouldn't be able to eat a certain way. You know what I mean? I think that's
And
crazy. But they do
and
that with them too. Yeah.
like out there as well, because like I've done
Mhm.
work out in far west Queensland
Mhm.
and in Northern Territory, like food out there already costs an arm and a leg. You know what I mean? It's just
Yeah.
like
Right.
a loaf of bread, like it'll cost you a dollar 50 or $2 in the
Right.
city. It costs you 10 out there
What?
because it's
So
in the
where
middle of
they are,
nowhere.
it's even more expensive.
Correct. So their money that they get the same amount of money we like the normal people will get, but the things cost astronomically more because of the cost of transport to get it to the middle of nowhere.
Wow.
Yeah,
Now, see,
it's crazy.
that's interesting because here, what I find and what they found is that the 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 inner cities and like a lot of these places where people do get like stamps and stuff like that, or at least where they think black people are getting food stamps and stuff like this. They have a lot
Mm,
of sugary foods. They have like a lot of processed foods in these areas. There's a lot of liquor
mm.
stores in these areas and stuff like that, right?
Yeah,
Um, but
that's
like for
everywhere in
instance,
this
where I
country, to
live
be honest.
at, I live in a part of
Mm,
Delaware where it's a mixture of people, right? It's not
mm,
just black people or it's not just white people or whatever, right? It's a mixture of
mm,
different races and so I have access to like farmers markets. I have access to Sprouts. There's a grocery store called Sprouts. Okay, I have access to places where I can get farm raised foods and
mm,
stuff like this. I actually live near a farm where I can go and get like I don't eat eggs, but I can go and get like farm fresh eggs, get farm fresh meats and stuff like this from the farm, right? Whereas in like the inner cities and stuff like that, they have more access to like really sugary foods, really sweet and
mm,
salty foods and stuff that kill us. You know what I mean? And the stuff is more expensive. It's absolutely
mm,
more expensive, right? But then at the same time, they've got these ideas where they've got like these organic foods and stuff like this, quote unquote organic, where it's supposed to be more healthy, but those foods are astronomically priced. It's ridiculous, right?
yeah.
So,
I think that's where it's slightly different with our countries because our food, like, is comparatively a lot cheaper. Like all our fruits and vegetables and
wow.
all that stuff,
Yeah.
it's a lot fresher and all that sort of stuff. And like all our processed stuff's actually all the imported stuff's obviously way more expensive. But
How
it's
about
like
that?
the it's a hard thing to explain because even our dollar isn't worth as much as yours on paper.
For
Um,
now. For now.
I
Don't
know, but
don't hold
sometimes
us
it goes
to
no, but
that.
sometimes it goes.
Yeah, I
Sometimes
was
it
gonna say
even
don't
even
hold
in
us
my
to that. Yeah.
yeah, even
With
in my
this
lifetime, it's gone over. It has gone over. At one
over,
point, it was a
yeah.
dollar 30. So,
Mhm.
but it's more the fact that like a cost of like my rent where I am now is $670 a week.
What? A week?
Yep,
God damn.
my
Wait
power
a
is a
minute.
thousand dollars every 3 months.
Okay, so I can do that because listen, I would love to have my power be $1,000 every 3 months because mine is probably 600 to 800 a month. Yeah,
Well, that's up there. Yeah,
but that's
that's
where
up
I
there.
live at. That's because of where I live and the power company that's here. But other
Well,
places, it's
we
not
got
like that. Yeah,
we got gas as well, like a natural gas. So
yeah, we
that's for
have
the
natural
cooker
gas
and
too.
yeah,
And
for
see,
the stove and then
us being in
mhm,
the countries that we live in, oil prices right now is why
mhm.
our energy, we're having an energy crisis literally. So,
Yeah.
you
Well,
know,
I'm paying about $10 a gallon at the moment. I think comparatively.
mm, my
So
God, today. Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
Anyway, yeah.
anyway, right? Well, listen, I appreciate you, opening up about the things that you knew about, and I'm glad that you were able to talk about the Scottish part of that too, because
Uh,
that's important to see the difference, right? In
yeah. They
how,
just
no,
they're
go ahead.
completely different. Yeah,
Very
completely
different.
different.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And even now with the Freemasons, and we're not going to talk much about that, but we will. I'll say this much: with the how the Scottish got their rights, and meaning the Scottish rights and other rights of other houses, right, of the
Mm,
European nation, where they have these rights that come out of Freemasonry.
mm,
Um, these are secrets that were stolen from the Aboriginal people of these lands, and these are
mm-hmm.
things that you should look into if you don't know. I'm not going to talk a lot about the Freemasons, but I will just say that the secrets of the Freemasons and the uh
I'll just give you a
mhm,
little tidbit. All the
mhm,
places where I used to work out west, there's a lot of those places out there. If you get my catch my drift.
mhm,
Mm-hmm.
mhm, mhm.
Yep.
And it's important to know those things, because the secrets are all spiritual. They're all spirit secrets, right? And really, it's not much of a secret if you knew if you knew who you were, right? If you know your connection to the Most High, then you would understand why they have these particular societies, what these secrets are supposed to be, and how these secrets oppress the people of our land because of our lack of knowledge, right? If we
and where
knew
they
what,
are, and
right,
where they are
and
located.
what they
Yeah.
where they're located, exactly, and if we knew what those things meant, we could connect those things, and that would break this system of oppression that we have here. But we all have to know first, right? And then we have to rise up and do so. So anyway, I appreciate you, bro, for talking to me about
You
this.
too.
And
If you,
this will be. I wanted you guys to know that this is a live that I'm doing as one of my last lives here for a long time. I will not be live here on Black Lounge for quite some time. I have a lot of goals to meet in the next few years, and I don't have time for any outside things. I do have some time to sit down and hang out with you guys and kiki and laugh. I might go live every now and then and just joke and kiki and stuff, but I don't have the time that I would like to have. My time has now been limited again. So, because of some very blessed things that have been happening in me and my family, and I'm excited about where God is bringing us. And this isn't goodbye, but this is definitely a see you guys later on. so,
oh,
so shout out
oh,
to you for being a part of that, and I'll
thank
see
you.
you around.
And you've always got my email, and if you ever come over this way, you know who to call.
I know who to reach. Yeah, absolutely. And I definitely want to get, like I said, I do want to go over there one day, but it's a very expensive, it's a very expensive trip. It is a long trip too. So it's something I have to plan for. But at some point I
Hey,
will.
yeah,
hmm
yeah. Hey, you should get me my green car. Or come see us.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right,
Yeah.
Skunk. Well, it was great
Right.
talking to you. And for those of you that will catch the replay, I truly appreciate all of you for being in the building. Y'all make sure y'all hit the like button. And I will see you guys soon. Peace, guys. And thank y'all again for watching.